kind of getting back to that. So it's not a lack of discipline. It's because you've been conditioned that way. It's the novelty that our brain loves. So we have to work through that. What's the psychological remedy? It's stimulus and control. So the stimulus, the heightened stimulus, means we've got to change that. You change the environment so your brain doesn't have to constantly wrestle between your rationale and your desires. And discipline can be expensive. Exerting energy to change yourself is calorically, emotionally, mentally draining. It's fatiguing. So you don't want to start doing that at the time that's most opportune. So change the environment. The environment is cheaper. Work through a way to manipulate the situation. Move your apps to another screen or something. We'll come to those in a second. If we don't do this, what's the consequence? Okay. If you don't fix the attention in the environment, you'll feel guilty every night, and that's one of the tricks of shaitan. Shaitan ya'idukum al-faqr. Satan promises us poverty and hopelessness, so that guilt can become a pit of hopelessness, and it means that I'm meant to do more. I'm meant to read. I'm meant to pray with presence, with khushu'. But the guilt becomes a dominant emotion, and we become saturated and drowned in that. So if you don't fix it, you'll feel something rare, that you'll just keep getting further and further into that depth. If you do fix it, you'll feel something, even more satisfying. You'll feel a sense of clarity. You'll feel a sense of accomplishment. It's a different hit of dopamine. It's got to be experienced though. This is theoretical and you might be nodding through this, but in reality, when you live through that in the flesh, it hits differently. You'll feel presence. You'll feel serenity. So if I describe to you how it feels to ride a roller coaster, to go on like a carnival ride or a festival ride, go to Luna Park or a theme park, what does it feel like to be on a roller coaster? Wow, it's exhilarating and your heart beats and you feel upside down and there's nausea and there's excitement and you don't know when it's going to end because the carnival guy hasn't pulled the lever for a stop yet, and it can be exciting and scary at the same time, and adrenaline's flooding and there's an anticipation of it stopping, but you don't know when, and there's no predictability. You don't have control, and it's exciting. So if you've been on a roller coaster, you can relate to that. But if you haven't, it's just words. It's just a description. And so if you've been in that seat, in your skin, experiencing that through your own eyes, that's going to connect. So likewise, if you haven't overcome the guilt, you can't appreciate what that feels like to kind of emerge as having overcome that. And it's you could describe it, but it's not going to hit the same. So what's the remedy? What do we do tonight? Unless you've got some of your own ideas, drop them in the comments. Maybe someone else will benefit from that. It could be a nice sadaqah jariyah for you. If other people read your comment, get benefit from that, and you may eternally benefit from that, inshallah. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless us of those and make us of those who are continually receiving our rewards in perpetuity, inshallah. Allahumma ameen. So what's the remedy? Let's do some let's think about three friction points that we have, and we can replace those. Okay, so the first one, move the main social apps off the screen. Okay, bury them, put them inside. I've got a folder on my home screen, for instance. This is just what I find to be useful. It adds an extra layer of friction. So I put the apps that I most frequently go to, I put them inside another folder so that I don't have direct access. It's just an example. That's just level 1. Okay. If you want to go level 2, have a nested folder structure. Put them on another screen. Uninstall them, and you have to reinstall it each time you want to jump on to just add time, add friction. Okay, first one, move your main apps off the screen that seem to distract you. Change the color theming and setting on your phone. Go to grayscale. After Maghrib, put on a timer. Change your settings so that it automatically does it. So that, or red screens, if you can do a whole nother stream on blue screens, red screens, and how that affects the circadian rhythm and your day and night sleep time, and how that affects melatonin and cortisol secretions. So we can, it's common to have sort of night mode on phones, and red screens were fringe once upon a time, but they're fairly mainstream now. They're incorporated into the native operating system. So put the phone. The third one is put the phone physically away from you. During your first worship block. When you're practicing, when you're performing your prayer, put it in a different room. So if you're praying at home, if you're praying in the masjid, go to the masjid without your phone. It's not necessary. You can answer calls when you get back. Start getting used to being distant from your phone. Okay, so that's 3 frictions. 1, move the main social apps off the main home screen, make it harder to get to. Grayscale or change the color scheme, and then you can put the phone away from you physically, distant. Now, what's the replacement? The replacement is going to be put the Quran app there as a reminder. Put your dua app, put a widget or a wallpaper there that's going to give you a sense of what to do next. That's the replacement. Have a physical mushaf on your pillow or your desk. Get the actual book that you're reading currently, or a copy of the Quran itself, and have that there as a physical reminder. So that way, when you're fiddling around, fumbling around, trying to get to your phone, you've introduced frictions, and then you've got a physical book in reality, or a physical reminder in reality, or you'll have the app's note pop up. Some of these might be basic, some of these might be fairly straightforward, but just keep in mind that not everyone's at the same level, and so everyone's got to have a sort of starting point. And we don't want to go too complex and too technical that it becomes a barrier to entry for people. I just want to adjust something. So your brain learns in this way. When we have the friction points accounted for, we've added friction. You're adding friction to the things you want to be distant from. And your brain learns, when I reach for relief, I reach for the Quran first. I reach for my dua. I reach for my adhkar. I have my dua book, my Hisnul Muslim, my fortress of the Muslim with lots of prayers in there. I reach for my 40 hadith of Nawawi that I can go back to. I can look at my daily sunan booklets, or the book that I'm reading currently. It might be all sorts of things, but replace it. Now, and this helps during Ramadan to sustain that, because the devils are chained. They're withdrawn. They're taken away. So that challenge has been removed. So now it's just a matter of dealing with the self, dealing with the lower self, the nafs. And chained might not necessarily mean that your thumb is chained. You still have to contend with that urge, with that need. So you still have to choose. It's still a choice. You have that conscious decision. We can't completely outsource our responsibility to the chained devils. And again, this is a psycho-spiritual perspective, from an Islamic perspective, on how to kind of work through the psychological barriers that prevent us from moving forward. But anyway, drop a comment, say something about your phone. If this is your biggest battle, what is it? Is it substances? Is it food? Is it other technology? Is it your drone? Is it your PlayStation or Xbox? Is it a particular app? So we can kind of work through. And what's the most dangerous time? If we identify some of this, what's the most dangerous time for you? Is it after Isha, when it's bedtime, when we start kind of getting towards the end of our day? Is it when we're in bed? Is it when we're alone? Is it when we know we're going to the weekend and there's a sort of gear down of, okay, we can just kick back and relax and not really think about anything, and reduce the effort for the rest of our lives? We put in all that work to earn our dollars and cents and darahim, but we want to just kick back when it comes to what's ultimately going to help us work for, to earn for our hereafter. So we got to really kind of have an equilibrium when it comes to where we're exerting our effort. Is it at work during our breaks? Is it when we're around certain people? Are those our sort of dangerous times? All right, we're going to move through at a bit of a faster pace at the moment. So I'm just making sure the audio, I've just received some messages about the audio not being correct and proper. So I want to make sure that it's sound, no pun intended, that it sounds okay. Everything seems to be functioning, but let's carry on. If needed, I can always I can do this stream again. It's not an issue. It's a joy, and sometimes it stuffs up, and that's okay. We have happy mistakes. So let's go to tip number 3. So far we've done two major tips, and that is the first one being that we don't wait for motivation. We do the action, we take action, and motivation follows. And we try to overcome this myth that we need motivation in order to act. We don't have to like it, we just have to do it. We might like it, we might enjoy it once we start. Some things are an acquired taste, so we can do that. But this is a recap. So the second one is about the attention, dealing with the phone, dealing with the digital distraction, the digital crack. That is the algorithm honing in, being hyper-stimulating and raising the ceiling of our dopamine loops, such that regular life just becomes, boring. So the things that we know are better for us that end up becoming boring are actually very good, and we want them. But in the absence of the phone and these digital distractions and other substances and other issues, this is actually at the height and the peak of existence. But because this offers novelty and newness and entertainment, and there's access, it relatively it becomes disparate, and so we need to work through that. So that's number 2. What is number 3? Let's go to number 3. I keep failing. This is a common complaint that I receive as well. I keep failing and falling into the same problems. I try, I get it done, and then I fall back. I can't sustain it. I can't keep it going. So what you might be stuck with is that, a lot of people are stuck with sometimes the same sin can be a problem, the same problem behavior, the same issues might be, keep us stuck in a sort of shame loop, and we have a slip up, we end up in shame, we're disgusted in ourselves, and then we avoid worship, we avoid engaging in faith-based activities, and then we think to ourselves, maybe, I'm not good enough, or I'm not righteous enough, or I'm not holy enough, I'm not perfect enough, and then we slip into it again. So that loop can perpetuate and just take us further and further off track. And it's not a humility problem, and it's different from hopelessness. What's the psychological remedy for this? We use relapse prevention. So in rehabilitative settings, whether it's a hospital or some sort of recovery center for substance abuse or otherwise, we have, when we achieve a certain level of recovery, we focus now on maintenance, on relapse prevention. So a slip is a slip, and it doesn't wipe out all of our progress to date. And a slip can be informational. It's a signal. It's a message. It doesn't define us. I'm not one who constantly slips up. We don't over-identify with something that happens to us, and so we call it what it is. It's a slip up, okay? And we can sort of use what's called urge surfing. Maybe do a search on this if you're not familiar with this. Urge surfing is kind of where we recognize the peaks and ride them out. We ride them out so we can come down from those. So sleep is information. It's not our identity. And urge surfing we mentioned. So find the peak. When we get to the peak, we want to ride that out of us so we can delay, we can distract ourselves positively, find ways to get through it. And we can, clinically speaking, we can check our triggers. And a simple tool that you might think about is the HALT technique, HALT. HALT meaning stop, okay? And then we can ask, are you hungry? Are you angry? Are you lonely? And are you tired? HALT, HALT. And that gives us pause to kind of think through the main things that might be affecting us, that might push us over the edge, push us beyond that urge to succumb. So we pause and we just take account of what's going on. Are we hungry? Are we angry? Are we lonely? And are we tired? So that sort of taps into most of those regular functioning human states. And most spiritual failures are also nervous system failures. We have to, we have to ensure that we've got our physiology in check, as well as our psychology, as well as our emotionality, as well as our sort of mental health in general. So let's do that. The consequence, if we do, if we don't. Here we go. The consequence, if we keep falling into the same problems, if we keep repeating bad habits, sinful behaviors, let's say, if you don't break if you don't break the shame cycle, you're going to go into Ramadan with secret despair. You're going to be on the back foot from the get-go. And so that can have a devastating effect, because you'll get to the end of Ramadan and you'll have regret. Should've, would've, could've. And that's going to devastate you, and you're going to miss out, and you may not live to see Ramadan, even this year or even the next year. So we don't know. We try to make the most, in the present, and we think about the future. So Allahumma balighna Ramadan. So we ask Allah to allow us to reach Ramadan in good health and in a good space to earn good deeds, inshallah. So we want to, you might still fast, but you're going to be in despair. You're going to have this feeling that's going to linger on. You're going to be walking around with a sort of dark cloud. Whereas if we break that shame with a plan, we're going to enter Ramadan with tawbah, with intelligence, with foresight, with humility, with a cleaner heart. And so the remedy is tonight, when the urge hits, use the HALT method. Okay? Are you hungry? Are you angry? Are you lonely? And are you tired? So do that delay for 10 minutes. Just delay. Just keep delaying. And again, you can introduce some friction points from the previous topic as well. Make wudu. Okay, refresh your wudu. Have a shower. Cool yourself down. Take a breath. Go for a walk. And tell yourself, look, this is a wave. This is just a wave. I don't have to obey it. The wave overcomes us. It swells. It mobilizes us, but we don't have to ride that wave. We can just surf the urge and just allow it to pass us over. It will pass. Then we can have something of a practice, whether it's, go and pray rakatain, go and pray 2 units of prayer, make tawbah, do some istighfar, read your pages of Quran, call someone, send your salam, send them a message, send them a picture, get in touch, connect with your people. Consistency is going to beat intensity. So you don't want to overwhelm yourself and fall off and slip so hard that you're going to end up becoming, regretful and stay in despair. That, we have this hadith that I've taken note of here. It's not verbatim, but the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we probably heard this, that he taught us that the most beloved deeds are the consistent ones, even if it's small. And this is also true in human psychology. It's a matter of small incremental changes, adjustments, whether it's our character, whether it's our practices, whether it's our routines and habits. It's something that over time we want to, build those up with consistency. You do something from from when you're responsible, when you're pubescent until death, but you do it every day for the rest of your life with consistency, there's going to be an enduring benefit from that, inshallah. All right, if you're comfortable, type in dua into the chat, and I'll make a general dua at the end for anyone battling a private habit, inshallah. I always make dua for my patients, and it's important to do that. Maybe type out a dua for us all, for those listening. If there's shame and urges that you're battling, which one is the bigger enemy for you? Is it the internal shame, or is it a sense of fighting urges? The shame could be a consequence after we've succumbed to the urge, but sometimes the urge itself can be quite challenging. All right, so here's the recap so far. Start tiny, don't wait for motivation. Number 2, protect your attention, design friction into the process. Number 3, break shame, use a plan, not self-hate. All right, now tip number 4, this is where people underestimate Ramadan. The body is an important aspect of all of this. It's the vessel that contains our soul. It's the vessel that carries us, that mobilizes us. So we can have sincerity, but physically we can be cooked, we can be gone, we can be drained, we can be fatigued. So what you might be stuck with is you might have sleep debt, you might not be moving very much, you might have poor hydration, you might have bad habits in terms of how you're just moving, how you're carrying yourself. And then, we become shocked when we're irritable and foggy and, inattentive. So self-control is a brain function. It's glucose, it's sleep, it's stress, it's mood regulation, if you want to sort of get down into the nuts and bolts and mechanics of it all. So what's the psychological remedy of this, clinically speaking, let's say? The treatment is sleep hygiene and energy budgeting. Just like we allocate resources, we use our time here, there, we spend our money here, there. We're not heedless with these other resources. So the body is also a resource in this regard. We're going to exert that during Ramadan. We're going to have late nights. We're going to have early mornings. We're going to have physically draining days. We're going to have mental and cognitive fog. So we want to pace ourselves. So for building taqwa, we need to build capacity. We need to build the body. Your worship needs a regulated nervous system. And the nervous system runs on energy and calories. And we need to sort of be mindful of that. What if we don't do this? What's the consequence? If you don't fix those foundations, you're going to have Ramadan anger. You're going to have a grumpy Ramadan, and it's going to be, you're going to resent fasting. You're going to feel grumpy. You're going to feel out of character. You're going to resent tarawih. You're going to be tired. You're going to put things off. I'll just pray at home, and then you're not going to go. You can pray at home, and it might be better for you. Allah knows best. But you're going to be snappy at your family members. You're going to be snappy at work. You're not going to be productive. So if we get into that habit from now, then the guilt is going to make the month feel heavy. If we do fix this, on the other hand, then your worship becomes more present. You're going to be less forced. It's going to be smooth sailing. You're going to enjoy it more. You're going to be able to take the flavor of the month a little bit better. So the remedy is have a baseline plan. Start training your sleep from now. Pick one consistent time that you aim to be in bed. Not perfect, just consistent. Okay? Could be minutes a day that you adjust. Wake up a couple of minutes earlier and go to bed a couple of minutes earlier. And slowly that window that you're waking up late in the morning and going to bed late at night, we're bringing that window back. Even if it's a minute at a time or an hour at a time, everyone's got their own starting point. So you know yourself best. Have some movement incorporated. Do a 10-minute walk. Go and do an extra workout. Run an extra 10 kilometers. But everyone's got their starting point. If you're going from, you don't want to go from couch to 10K run, for example. You don't want to go from never been to the gym to an hour-long gym session. Start small. But for generally speaking, a short walk isn't going to harm anybody, unless you've got medical advice to the contrary. But that's an exception, right? This is not prescriptive advice. It's sharing some experiences. It's nice to get blood flow, to move the limbs and prepare and limber up to get moving. Think about wudu and your purification. Don't rush it. Use wudu as a sort of nervous system flush to kind of cleanse the skin and allow yourself to feel that difference in temperature. And again, the analogy of the gym, you can't build muscle while refusing yourself protein and sleep. Those are key components of building a solid, physique. So it's the same with spirituality. You can't build presence while sort of, running on 4 hours and rage scrolling and then coming off that and trying to, switch off and on like a robot. It doesn't quite work like that. So drop a comment, say sleep if you know you need this, and tell me what's harder for you, sleep timing or waking up for Fajr. Okay. And so far we've done 4. Now the final tip, this one prevents the classic crash. Number 5 is I try to do everything and then I crash. So what you might be stuck with is with, all or nothing spirituality, this idea of planning a heroic Ramadan, and by day 4 you're exhausted, you're spent, you're wasted, and you become disappointed and you become disheartened. So the psychological remedy is have a values-based habit and minimum viable consistency. Have consistency that you can sustain. Don't increment it to the nth degree just yet. Get to a baseline, and we want to find a smallest repeatable unit. Okay, remember that, a smallest repeatable unit that we can maintain with consistency and sustain, based on your values. The consequence of not doing this is that you can overcommit and you just quit because it's too hard. You've bitten off more than you can chew. You've written a check that you can't cash. Okay, and you quit. You interpret quitting as being, being a hypocrite or some sort of hypocrisy. There's self-shame, self-blame. It can affect your sense of self-worth, and it's gonna affect you longer term, and you're gonna go back into that cycle, and you're never gonna really progress through that. If you commit to a sustainable chain of actions, you finish strong and your identity shifts. And if you might sort of have this self-script of, look, I'm the kind of person that shows up. At least you show up. It doesn't have to be complete and perfect and attain excellence. It might just be, I just show up. I just got my shoes on the bench for a walk. I've got my workout clothes ready. I've done my gym membership. I've got my supplements. I've got my nighttime routine. I've got my Maghrib provisions. I'm ready for my sahur at Fajr. You're showing up. You're just making initial steps. But here are some 3 essentials that we can kind of have as some non-negotiables, that we can make sure that we protect our fard prayer, that we make sure that we attain, that we're hitting all of our salawat. Have some daily Quran, whatever your level is. If it's 5 pages, if it's 3 ajza, do that. If it's 1 line, do that. Okay, but have some daily Quran. Connect. And the daily character target. Focus on something that, maybe it's your tongue, maybe it's your patience, maybe it's your generosity, maybe it's your sense of forgiveness, holding things back and holding things down and holding on to things. So work on some of those. So your fara'id, daily Quran, and a sense of character. Focus on something. Tongue, patience, what do I say? Generosity, forgiveness, just virtuous elements of yourself that you want to hold on to or build, and vices that you would like to remove. Think of those as how we can kind of get through those. Make it a habit, make it stick, and then you will be able to do that with some of the information in here, inshallah. And we can, as we said before, we can stack those habits. Habit stacking is a powerful way to do that. Like I was using the analogy of a peg earlier. So when you have salah, connect to your salah 2 minutes of Quran. After your Quran, then you can do some dua. After your dua, you can put your phone away. So we can it becomes a chain reaction like dominoes. If we set it up in such a way that you have a routine built on your existing pillar, then that's going to flow forward a little bit more. And remember, all of this is for taqwa. It's for building taqwa. This is not just a practical, pragmatic training exercise. We want to have a 30-day, it's not just a 30-day, guilt marathon. We don't want to just shame ourselves into oblivion. But yeah, 3+1, folks. 3+1. Maybe just drop a comment about your character target. What is it? Is it your patience? Is it your sense of, do you put your foot in your mouth? Are you sort of, not, do you want to be more generous in terms of how you do that? Do you want to connect with people more? Do you want to start some sort of education program that you tell yourself you've never got time for? Give yourself the provision to build your character, to build your virtuous characters, inshallah. Okay, if you've watched this to the end, you've done well, and I appreciate that. What is it? We're at an hour and 20. So I'm just going to whiz through these. These are some bonus tips. I might have to redo this stream, and that's okay. Yeah, let's do that, because I think the audio on the first half was really shabby, really faulty. I think there was an echo. So we'll try to redo. We'll try to redo that with a little bit of grace. Okay, so here are some bonus tips that I've thought through, and maybe we can go through these at a faster pace. So the bonus tip for this month, for Sha'ban, is that it's the warm-up lap. Okay, don't do anything then except Ramadan to feel, to make it feel easy. Pick one warm-up, small, extra fasting, maybe extra Quran, maybe one consistent dhikr, and then build on that. It's a warm-up. Don't go hard. Just build up to it slowly. Preload your environment. Bonus tip number 2. Preload your environment. Get your mushaf ready. If it's a large one, if it's a small one, the one you regularly read, whatever it is. If you need materials, if you need resources, start doing that now. Don't go on a hunt for resources, at the main event. Do that. Prepare in advance. Have an iftar system. If you're going to book your iftars, I know it's a good time sometimes to connect with community. I know sometimes people have the opinion to not go to social iftars, to kind of focus on that. So I'll let you decide. Allah knows what's best, and I think find a balance. It's a good time to connect with people, not at the cost of the primary valuables, inshallah. So have an iftar system, whether you want to pre-populate a calendar for your iftars, if you want to pre-schedule work to get that done, have it out of the way. Choose a consistent prayer space to perform your prayer. If you want to move around from masajid to masajid for tarawih, go from masjid to masjid, but you might just have one sort of foundational place where you want to do that. And keep it consistent so that you're reducing friction. You don't have to decide each time. So you can weigh the pros and cons of that. Have a Ramadan playlist. Okay, have your reciters ready. Have your surahs ready. Have your juz ready that you want to listen to and memorize. Okay. Bonus tip number 3. What are we up to? 3. Your shaitan is chained. Mindset is an important one. Use it as a window of opportunity, so the enemy is chained down. And when it feels easier, that's an opportunity. Don't waste it. Gravity has been reduced and you can jump as high as you like, to use an analogy. Okay? That, the bungee cord has been released from our back, and we can propel ourselves forward. And the fight is still there with the nafs, but we can reduce that. So use this opportune time to make the most of that. Okay, I want to close with a quick recap. Inshallah, we covered 5 ways to get unstuck before Ramadan. We're in Sha'ban now. We're in the 3 holy months. We have Rajab, Sha'ban and Ramadan. And before Ramadan comes, we've got a good 25, 26 days, depending on when you're watching this. Don't wait for motivation to start. That's number 1. Start tiny with an if-then plan. Number 2, protect attention and have phone friction. Move apps away. Level 1, level 2 we discussed. Have some sort of a replacement to introduce and substitute that with something so that you don't end up with dopamine deficit. Break shame down so that you're not putting yourself into a hopelessness loop. Slippages are informational. They don't define you. That urges are waves that we can overcome, that we can ride out, not necessarily jump on and ride through. And it's about returning to Allah. It's about earning and attaining taqwa. We want to fix our foundations of sleep. We want to get movement. We want to get wudu and regulation. We want to calm our nervous systems and train ourselves to do that. Number 5, we want to avoid burnout and we want to focus on essentials. Have 3 essentials, 1 stretch, 1 consistency over intensity, so that we're building and not necessarily doing the volume. We're in building phase, and then when we get to Ramadan, it can be more and more autopilot, inshallah. If you're watching this later, drop a comment. Which tip hit you most, 1 to 5? And tell me what you would like to hear, what conversation about next. Hopefully the execution is going to be a little bit better. Forgive me, I'm trying to work through this. I'll try to rip the audio and post it onto a kind of more listenable format. Because the next live stream that I'm thinking about is kind of maybe Sunday night, to kind of work through a Monday-itis cure. I hear this a lot as well. When Monday night comes around, whether we're working or studying or have families, the week begins. If you're outside Australia, your weekend and weekday might be different. Your Monday-itis might be somewhere else. You might not know what Monday-itis is. Look it up and we can talk about it. So that's a thought that I had to do a sort of regular live stream for. And how to go from sort of weekend drift to a sort of stronger week, spiritually and psychologically. But nothing's locked in yet, so it just depends on the engagement and what your suggestions might be. But that's welcomed. I want those. I want you to put forward your suggestions, inshallah. What do you want to? What problems do you want to solve? Do you have procrastination issues, low mood, discipline issues, anxiety, social anxiety? Anger issues, emotional regulation, dysregulation, phone addiction, substance addiction, digital addiction, other behaviors that you find troubling. Drop it in the comments and I'll build around, what you actually need, inshallah. So, in closing, may Allah Azza wa Jal let us reach Ramadan and let Ramadan reach us, inshallah, with cleaner hearts and stronger habits, with real taqwa, inshallah, and the right intentions, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Allahumma ameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to reconnecting with you at the next one, inshallah. Take care.